Welcome back, everyone. North Dakota Today is live from Medora. And you can't be in Medora without talking to the legendary 26th president. Hey, Teddy, how are you doing today? I can just go first name,
first
right?
name basis already.
I'm fine as toad hair. Lisa, nice to see you here. And you as well, Chris. Welcome
Thank you,
to
Mr.
Medora,
President.
the Badlands of North Dakota, where the romance of my life began.
Yeah, so what brought you here? You know, you went through some rough times early on in life, and you came here, and something happened on a particular date to both some very close family members.
I first came here September of 1883. A month before my 25th birthday, I came to hunt a bison bull. I wanted a trophy for my home being built at Glen Cove, Oyster Bay, Long Island. And I was successful, tipping my hunting guide, Joe Ferris, $100 for his 2 weeks' trouble, with which he began the operation of Joe Ferris's General Store, still doing business here, a block away from us here in Medora. I used to sleep above the store when I'd come to town for supplies. It was the following year, the summer of '84, that I returned to be a cattle rancher and to heal from the terrible loss I'd had that February 14th, St. Valentine's Day, when I lost my beloved mother and my young bride. My mother, Martha Mitty Bullock Roosevelt, and my bride, Alice Hathaway Lee Roosevelt, died of 2 different diseases on the same day. It was a crushing blow, but I came here to heal, and through hard work, ranching and hunting, eventually returned to New York City, got back into the family way, 17 grandchildren.
And one of the greatest quotes I think both Lisa and I and everybody in North Dakota appreciates about you is you said, hey, I would have never become President of the United States if it wasn't for my time in North Dakota. What was it about North Dakota that allowed you to go on and become such a great president?
I spoke those words in Fargo in 1910 without any idea of trying to win the state on the ballot in 1912. I was being sincere about what it meant to me, how I healed, also how I got to mix up with real men and women who helped build this country. Americans who, by the sweat of their brow and the labor of their hands, did the building of this country. I'd come from a very patrician family in New York City, did my college at Harvard, was a young member of the New York General Assembly. But here I mixed with cowboys and ranchers and miners and forestmen, and, well, I think I learned that I liked these sort of people that worked hard and played hard. The origins, of course, both of the roundup and the rodeo, very often coming during our time out in the Badlands.
We mentioned a little bit earlier that there's talk of a presidential library. How do you feel about that here in the land that you love?
Well, if a library has books, which I'm sure this one will, the only thing I liked more than books was children. I do think a presidential library here in Medora, North Dakota will be quite appropriate. We have millions of visitors that visit nearby national parks. Yellowstone, where I camped for 2 weeks during my presidency and laid the cornerstone at Gardner, Montana, at what is now called Roosevelt Arch, above which are the words from the Organic Act, creating that our first national park in 1872, for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. But there are also millions of visitors that arrive every year to the Black Hills of South Dakota. We were all one Dakota territory during my ranching days, but in South Dakota, Mount Rushmore, between Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone, I think people will come and visit Medora for the sake of the Presidential Library and what they might learn about me and about this country at that library.
Anything specific in the library that you're like, you know what, I absolutely have to have this in this library to really show who President Roosevelt was?
It's difficult to narrow it down to one thing. I hope the story of my life and overcoming hardship and tragedy is told. I hope the story of the conservation of our natural resources is told, not just the parks, but the national forests, wildlife refuges, bird sanctuaries, and national monuments declared or legislated during my administration, and a call, a challenge to all of our citizens and visitors to pick up their fair share of the duty, to make sure that these parks are passed on to future generations in better condition and not in worse. And then the people might understand why I told one senator, he said, Mr. President, you're preaching. I said, Senator, you're right. And the presidency is a bully pulpit, too. Now the bully pulpit is a very nice golf course nearby Medora.
President, thank you so much for visiting with us today.
Thank you kindly. Hope to see you all in Medora. Bully!
We'll be right back.